California because the winds are like 17 to 20 miles an hour right now. And I think over in the evening time, and I'm still trying to check because I'm having all this trouble. Like I said, here I am. I'm still not showing up on my own Facebook feed. So I don't know what's going on with my Facebook. I'm back in the schnitzel box, but hopefully I will show up there soon. So, guys, if you are part of my Perry peeps, my Facebook fans, my Twitter tribe, my Twitch peeps, please feel free to hit the share button, drop your name in the chat so I can say hey to you. I'd really appreciate it because, I'm always trying to figure out how far out of the schnitzel box I get. So let me know that you guys are here. Drop your name in the chat and hit the share button. And if you're not following me already, be sure to hit the follow button. If you guys are watching on, for instance, YouTube, make sure that you guys hit the notification bell so you know when I go live, which is typically every day at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, I probably won't, just FYI, because I will be in Las Vegas. But maybe I'll do something kind of one of the girl on the streets or on the fly. Maybe I'll probably get myself thrown in jail for not wearing a mask or something. So, that'll always be fun. So, okay, guys. So let's talk about this. And by the way, if you are a replay viewer, feel free to add hashtag replay in the chat box so I know that I can make sure to go and back and comment on your broadcast later. We are broadcasting live on 9 different platforms. 4 of them are on Facebook. Then we've got Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube. Just, I don't know, we're all over the place. So again, and I've been in the schnitzel box so long, I would really appreciate it if you guys help me get out by making sure the content is relevant. All right. So put a 1 in the chat box if you saw EOJoe's broadcast today, his presser today. Now it's his first lone broadcast, his first lone press conference. And and maybe you're here in the group. I don't know. If you guys don't pop your name in the chat box, I don't know that you guys are here or not. So if you are the friend that I was just having a discussion with, I'm going to bring that up, and I want to talk about it for a minute because I have to tell you that was painful to listen to. That was absolutely painful. And it's mortifying to me. Now, everybody knows if you've been following me for any time period that I'm not a Joe Biden fan. I don't hate the man. I do think he's I do feel like corruption has probably been something that's been going on in his past for a while, based on what's going on with Hunter. I'm not sure he's aware of what's happening anymore right now. So I don't know that I could currently say he seems like he is. He seems like he's so out to lunch. He's like your great grandpa. That he may have been a bad guy in his heyday, but right now he can barely tie his shoes. So, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I actually don't. I think it's actually mean what his family is doing. Hey, welcome to the broadcast, Red Rose. Appreciate you being here. And you thought he did great. I totally disagree, but he did better than he does on some of his stuff. That's for sure. He was totally flawless today. Right now, Dave's laughing when he says it, but is it Red Chris? Sorry, Red Chris seems to think it was really good. Hello from Lynchburg. Welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you guys being here. And again, if you guys are new, make sure you give me a follow. We are here on the HAPS app, so hopefully you guys will come over here. Go to haps.tv.com, or excuse me, haps.tv/invite/Vicky Fitch if you are not currently on HAPS, and come follow me here. Let's make sure that we stay connected. Like I said, I get in the schnitzel box quite often, and so who knows how long I'll be on the other platforms. So since Red Chris is here, let's talk about that. I totally disagree that he did great. Now, I want to start with asking a question from those of you who are supporters of maybe you're Biden supporters, maybe you're Democrats, maybe you're both, or maybe one or the other. But do you think that President Trump, and I really want a true answer, would President Trump have been able to get away with not actually asking questions from the crowd, but looking at his paper and going, okay, Mary from CBS, and then looking up and trying to figure out where she is? There's absolutely no way. They would have torn him apart limb from limb. Biden had softball questions obviously pre-lined up. I mean, come on. Now, I admit I thought that the reporters at least pressed a little bit, but he went off on like the rambling man that he is, and he never even came back. Did he ever finish the question on China? I'm not sure. It was like literally a 10-minute answer going round about what he did about COVID, and then how he did this, and what he did when he was in the Senate, and what he did when he was this and that. I mean, he went all over. I don't even think he knows where he went, but that was the longest press conference answer in history, I think. That's personal opinion there. Let's see who else is coming today. Mary Lou, Bob, Charlie, I think it says, welcome to the broadcast. Dale says it was about as good as his 80 million votes. Yeah. I don't believe there's any possible way on earth that that man got that many votes. I really don't. There's I don't even think you can say anything to convince me of that. So it's when you compare people that are passionate, when people are going out in droves to vote, and I get that there's a I hate Trump vote that was going out that was that would definitely press some people to go out that may not even have supported Biden. But when you saw Trump trains, Trump parades, boat parades, everywhere the man went, there were huge crowds. And of course, much to the chagrin of the Democrats, because they were, touting all of the things that they didn't want him to do. Even Biden couldn't get 100 people pulled together. Harris didn't get people together. There's no way the most people in history went out and voted for him. It's just, it's statistically impossible, according to statisticians and the mathematicians that have gone through this. And I 100% agree. Okay, let's see. Honest answer: Trump used to cut reporters off before they finished the question. Okay, let it be. I am not going to deny that. Okay, but I do want to back up a minute and say, we talk about all the time that we need to understand, what's behind the curtain. And if you've read my books, like Evict the Bully in Your Head, for instance, we talked about it yesterday. We talk about that we should never judge surface, that we have to peek behind the curtain. That there's these, whenever we're watching a movie, we hate the person that's mean and he's a bully, and we just can't stand him, and we want him to fail because we want the underdog to win. I mean, most of us do. I mean, some of you certainly probably don't subscribe to that point of view, but I would say that's why it's such a successful thing in movies, is because that's us. We want the underdog to win. We want to believe, we want to have hope. And so when we look at situations like a bully, and then we find out, we want him to go down, we want him to get caught, we want him to get in trouble, and then they give you those back glimpses, and we find out that this kid, his mom is in the hospital, she has cancer, his dad won't pay for the medicine, so he's playing football during the day and then works from till 2 a.m. every morning as a janitor trying to get the medicine from his mom. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and now we're rooting for the bully because we know the backstory. And so as what is it? I'm preceding, I'm kind of informing you of what I believe with President Trump. When those people have been taking advantage of him, and and he calls them the fake news for a reason. I mean, they do take that. I mean, if you watched his press conferences and you watched his speeches and then you'd watch the news, they always took things out of context, and it was completely on purpose. And so, yes, sometimes he would cut him off, and I'm not going to pretend that he wasn't arrogant. I mean, I talk about the twins of confidence and cockiness, and I think the twin brother of cockiness did come out with Trump a lot instead of confidence. I also believe he's an incredibly confident and competent person. Excuse me. So I'm not saying everything he did was right. I wasn't even a big fan. As a matter of fact, I was an anti-Trump fan in the beginning. I was won over by what he was doing for the country. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So back to that. Did he cut reporters off? Yes. And did he get ticked off and call them fake news? Yes. He called it out like it was. Because I got to say, there are people that you get heckled on. As a international speaker, we get heckled sometimes. Sometimes you're in that crowd where somebody's got their own issue or their own axe to grind or their own chip on their shoulder. And so, we use a little sarcasm to try and work through, just like comedians do, to try and work through those things. But when you know the backstory, if that person's been heckling you and he's been following you at every juncture, then it ends up being a little different. So, but I can't deny that he used to cut people off. He didn't even know where that he was there today. Dale, I think I saw part of him was coherent for pieces of it. I felt like he was coherent, and then there was other pieces where, like I said, he was wandering off into his past of what he used to do. And my husband and I were actually driving, and we're like, is he ever coming back to this road? Like, where the heck did he just go? So it's, and I'm not saying anybody can't do that. I mean, I can go off on a story and then go, hey, where was I? And come back again. But this is a pattern that we've been watching. And I don't know for a fact but I'm almost certain he had to have an earpiece in. And now put a 2 in the chat box if you know what I'm talking about. When somebody would ask a question and he didn't know the answer, he was like, and then all of a sudden he'd jump in. Now, it could be that his brain hiccuped, right? And then it would catch up with him. But it seemed like he had someone seating him to try and keep him on track. But, and then I got my card here with the statistics. Not saying you can't have note cards, but if you're an articulate speaker and you are the president of the United States, if you have a note card, don't tell me you have a note card. You have your note cards in your hand, practice palming it. I don't care. But I got a note card. I mean, he couldn't get his pen in his pocket, a few weeks ago. I can't, he can't find the card. He is like dealing with my great grandpa, and he's not all there, in my personal opinion. Red Chris says, well, there was a pandemic going on while campaigning. I agree, Red Chris, but but the fact is that in the beginning, all the Trump supporters were wearing the masks and doing that stuff. Those people weren't coming out. It's just not the same thing. I mean, even when you watch viewing numbers. So let's take that one as a really hard and fast rule. Live streaming. His live stream video views are just they're abysmal, right? To tell me that he's got the most votes in the world, but he has the most abysmal views on when he does live streams, that doesn't add up. As somebody who's in marketing, right? We look at those statistics and we look at that information, and they are valid indicators of the popularity of a person or a concept, and he just didn't hit any of the markers. Just like in social media, when you see a Twitter account, for instance, that has 2 million followers, but when they make a post, there's one comment, that they bought followers somewhere along the way. There's just people that are interested in the content don't all ignore it, right? And that we know some of those indicators, and it's that same kind of thing. He doesn't have the presence. He has not captured people. People do not like him. I mean, they don't love him. I'm not saying they hate him, right? There's a difference, but they don't love him. They're not, I mean, are you proud of anything that he's actually done so far? I mean, and I'm not talking about the 1.9 trillion, because I got to tell you, that is a joke in my personal opinion, when only 9% goes to us. And if you look, as for COVID relief, and you look at what's in that pork stuffed disaster, it's offensive to me. I mean, it's absolutely offensive. So what has he done that you find exhilarating? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad, because he came in with that executive order run that I still to this day don't understand. They don't even make sense. And he won't take responsibility for what's happening on the border. Put a 4 in the chat box if you saw Lindsey Graham today. I shared this out on my feed. Put a 4 in the chat box if you saw Lindsey Graham today, kind of calling him, to the carpet and saying, you know what, the Biden administration continues to blame the Trump administration for this. He's got a holding room of 80 people holding 690 people. It's supposed to have 80. Okay, that is cray cray. And instead of taking responsibility of the fact that he kept saying, come, 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 and he's allowing all these children to come across the border, as unaccompanied minor, he asked for it. And Lindsey Graham said, you know what, this is a self-inflicted wound and you need to take responsibility for it so we can fix it. And that is true, right? Okay, so let me go back over here to you guys. Biden had a rally that no one showed up to. I believe that, Dale. I believe it. And when I saw Kamala's, when you could hear people clapping and you can hear there's only like 8 people in the room. Come on. I was not a popular group. Kamala she dropped out of the presidential race and she was on the bottom. I mean, nobody likes that woman. I mean, nobody likes her. There's maybe a few people, but nobody really likes her. She's abrasive and she's phony. And that laugh that she does, like I said, it's whenever she gets herself in trouble, she does that phony laugh thing. And it's so off-putting. Let's see. Fake news has been around since the beginning of time. Nothing new. I'm not sure what that's referring to, Red Chris. True, perhaps. I mean, for sure, there always has been. But do you think the mainstream media has been so completely biased before the last, let's go with just the last 4 years, because they were really biased on the other side, but we couldn't see it so much when they're propping up the Obama administration, and supporting everything they did like like he was the golden child, but when Trump came in, that not only were they propped up on the left, but they started attacking so much that it became their bias became so apparent, and then and Trump started, exposing it, which nobody else was exposing it before. So I don't know, when you say fake news, that lots of people lie about stories and create things, but this was, the media really did a number. Like I said, when I would watch a conference or watch him speak, and then they take these weird snippets out, like even the one trying to suggest that he said that all Mexican people were, rapists and murderers or whatever. That was a horrific, totally ridiculous representation. I mean, anybody that actually watched that happen knew that was, it made him angry because it was just so untrue. News has never been this bad. Right. I agree, Dale. Let's see. Coach Dale, Red Chris does not agree with you, and that's totally fine. We're allowed to agree to disagree. We're allowed to disagree, and we're going to try and have dignity and respect here. And like I said, we don't have to agree, but we can continue talking about it, and maybe one side or the other maybe moves their position just a little bit. He forgot what he was talking about in mid-sentence. He did. And sometimes he just sat there, and then, I mean, there was at least I'm going to say at least a 4-second pause where I think he really didn't know where he was. And it's funny. I remember one time when I was really sick and the doctor had me on some very heavy medications. I was in the middle of doing a meeting with my team, and I had pneumonia, or maybe I was going into pneumonia. I can't remember if I was on my way out of it or on my way in. But I was sitting there speaking, and all of a sudden I couldn't see anything, and I hear myself speaking. It's almost like I was passing out, but I was still there. And then, when my eyes kind of cleared, I was continuing to talk, but had to catch back up, and then said, "You guys, I'm not doing well. I have to go lay down." But he, of course, can't do that. But that's what I noticed. Like, he's trying to catch up with himself. We love you, Vicky. We love you. We love you. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. There is pork in every bill they pass in every administration. Red Chris, I do not deny that. But tell me this. Did you read it? Did you read, not the whole bill? I didn't read all 800 pages or whatever it was either. But did you see the breakdown of where the other, like I said, 9% of it went to COVID relief? Did you see where the other 91% went? A subway that doesn't need to be built, that's down in Sacramento, right? There millions and millions of dollars for, I wish I could remember. I don't have it sitting in front of me, and I don't want to misquote myself, because then I'll be seeing little clips of myself making random comments that are incorrect. But did you read it? Tell me the truth. Did you see the list of where the other 91% went? Because I can't imagine, as an American, and I'm assuming you are American, I cannot imagine that you're okay with that, because your great, 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 great grandchildren are going to be paying for that. This COVID relief, and I get everybody sticks some pork in, and I know that's how politics works. If you can't get what you want, you got to squeeze it in somewhere else. But the worst time to do it is when we're in the middle of a pandemic and the country is struggling like this. I think it's awful. Now, not as a politician, but if I was a politician, do you have to come up with some give and take? You do. But you need to expose what's happening. And did you know, and I realize I'm jumping topics here a little bit because I need to wrap them back around together. Do you guys know about HR1? Do you know in HR1, which is the number one thing that's on the floor, this is, it's not about getting back to work. It's not about jobs and COVID relief. The number one thing is making sure to reform the way the election was done, to permanently change it. And it's absolutely crazy, but stuffed in there as pork, it's a different kind of pork, because we're not using the dollars, right? But did you know it would be illegal for the representatives of the same side or the opposite side to reveal those things, to reveal the fact that the emptiness or the pork that's inside a bill, it would become illegal for them to do that. Paul Rand did a great excerpt on it when he was on the floor talking to them, saying this is ridiculous. So you guys want, not only do you want to reform things and violate the state constitutions by taking away their rights, but you also want to make it and I don't know that the word is actually illegal, but you make it so I cannot sit here and I wouldn't be able to tell them that this and this and this and this is in this bill. this is an atrocity. And what they're doing is taking away our freedoms and our ability to communicate. Because just like I'm sitting here telling you things that you may or may not have read, because we all have different amounts of time and we all spend them in different ways. So maybe I am familiar with this topic and you're familiar with another one, and we can talk about it so we can, expose the truth. Our representatives that we put in Congress, that we put in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, those people are supposed to support us. And the reason I elect the people I do is because I think that their value set is at least is the closest candidate to mine. And I want the truth. I want you to tell me what's going on so I can make an informed decision. So we have to be really careful about what's going on. And by the way, hi, everybody. I'm Vicki Fitch. I am a direct sales expert. I'm an author, speaker, international business consultant. I have built and sold for companies, and I am here to try and help you guys on my new show, which is Step Up, Stand Out, and Speak, where we're talking about how to become the best version of yourself without trying to water yourself down and without ramming yourself down other people's throat. And right now, we've been in a political arena, but these things all still are relevant to you in business, in life, in family relationships. So I appreciate you guys being here. If you have not been to my website, go to vickifitch.com, VICKI, F as in Frank, ITCH.com. Get on my newsletter list so we can stay connected. And if you're following here, make sure you hit the follow button, share it out, and make sure other people know that we're here too. All right, so let's see. Hey, Mainush, welcome. Welcome to the broadcast. Yes, I feel the media has always been biased. Do you feel like it's been this biased, Red Chris? Do you think it's been this biased? Because maybe I had blinders on and didn't notice it so much until the last few years. But I don't think it's been that bad, right? I'm not sure though. What app is she using besides Periscope? Manish, I'm using Haps. So if you guys go to Haps, HAPPS.tv/invite/Vicky Fitch, then you guys can join me. And they actually have some broadcaster things that come out where you guys can get some coins. You can pass some coins on to me. You can get some free coins just for signing up, and then for, going on and doing your own live stream or filling out your profile, all kinds of fun stuff. Let's see. What about the one we didn't put in office? Okay, so are we we talking, which one are we talking about? Are we talking about President T? Is that who you're talking about? Or you're talking, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. There's so many things that that place could go. Hello from Oklahoma City. Welcome, Lindsay Badger. It's so good to see you. Great to be here. I'm so glad you're here as well. Did you end up finishing all your books? I did finish them, Lindsay. But I am actually in the middle of rewriting pieces of them right now, because I have to tell you, it's funny how, if you guys didn't know, I wrote 12 books in 12 months. 2019, I took the year off and I wrote a book a month. They were delivered on 12, at 12/12 on the 12th of each month. And it was actually a very fun project. But as we start looking at them, there's so many that has to do with social media, things that had to do with events and podcasts that all adjusted and changed because of COVID. It's amazing how this one thing is a life-changing event that has changed things maybe forever, but certainly has given them a new, we have a new segue. So I'm in the middle of doing some revamps, a couple of chapters, or adding a chapter to certain books, just to just to make it relevant, because this has been a big thing, and the way relationships and stuff have been developed. So again, if you guys aren't following me here on the Haps app, come on over to haps.tv/Vicky Fitch. Come on over. All right. So questions, like as we were looking through, we had been talking about EOJoe and his rambling man things that were going on, and how he would start a comment, that President Trump did not have a list of reporters. Okay, wait, let me see. Mary from CBS, go ahead. And he's looking like he doesn't even know who they are. He doesn't have a relationship with these people. And I get it, it's his first press conference, but the man has been in politics for 48 years. He has been seeing these same people, certainly during the Trump administration, watching them, listening to them at events. He should know who these people are. Not every single one, perhaps, but certainly some of them. And to have them all lined up in a list like he has been, if you guys haven't seen, the press has been pushing back on some things, saying, you know what? we're tired of having to give him, tell him what the questions are in advance. That's ridiculous. Can you imagine if President Trump said, I'm not going to do a press conference unless I get all your questions in advance? I mean, that's just like why live streaming provides the know, like, and trust factor for someone. If you ask me a question, I don't stop and think about it, go read a book. I either have an answer for you or I don't. I'm either quick on my feet and I know what I'm talking about or I don't. When you give someone the questions in advance and they look like they're reading a teleprompter, or like I said, they stop and then they look like they're listening to someone in their ear, it's hard to have confidence in that. It's hard to try and say, "Wow, that's my leader. That's the leader of the free world." And so we've got to be careful. We have to be aware of what's happening and how this affects our country and the world. I mean, again, America has always been a superpower, right? I mean, that it's ever since civilized society and as we started building our military, we have become a superpower. And so, one of the great things about this country is that we have always cared about other people, right? But just like in life and in business, when you're in an airplane and they tell you got to put your own oxygen mask on first before you help your children or you help other people, we have to do that with our borders. We've got to do that with our country to protect ourselves. And when you have a commander in chief that can't, like, I don't want to make fun of the stair thing because I don't know. I mean, I've taken some falls on some stairs before. It could have been slippery shoes. It could have been all kinds of stuff. But I also, being someone who has spent 3.5 years in a wheelchair, know that my legs gave out on me before. One of the times I was in the middle of my workshop room and boom, I hit the floor because my leg just gave out on me. And that is a real possible concern. I found that most Americans did not know that Joe Biden has had two aneurysms in his brain, right? He's had surgery twice on his brain. Now, put a 5 in the chat box if you knew that. Put a 6 if you didn't. Okay? A 5 in the chat box if you knew it, and a 6 if you didn't. So, when you read articles that again are suppressed by the mainstream media, but you read articles from, as a matter of fact, I have a paper here. It's a local paper, but they got an article from somewhere, I think on the East Coast. And this guy is I think he's a neurosurgeon. And he said that what is happening to Joe Biden is exactly what you would expect to happen. You're going to have limited neurological capacity. It's going to be limited after you've had these two things. And he may have more. He may be having many strokes. There's all kinds of stuff. And did he disclose that? Because I don't think he did. I mean, the fact that he had these strokes many years ago are public knowledge. But again, you don't see why in the world. I mean, when Trump, after saluting 850,000 times or whatever, and he was saluting every single cadet, and his hand was shaking after that when he's holding a bottle of water, and they start claiming he's got Parkinson's. Now, he but with Biden, let's see, the man's had two aneurysms in his brain and had brain surgery twice, and some of the known side effects are cognitive challenges and these things. And we're acting like people are being mean by calling him out on the fact that the man doesn't know where he is half the time. That's not making fun of someone because they've aged. That is identifying that the leader of the free world's brain is not completely engaged in what he's supposed to be doing. Let's see. Or they say the information is or they say those information are confident. I'm not sure what that means, Manish. When they don't have an answer. Oh, you mean when they lie and pretend they lie with such aggressiveness? It sounds like they're telling the truth. Can you see this? I do Facebook user. I don't know who you are because it just says Facebook user, but I do see that you have just posted something. So let me know who you are. If you guys are posting it on Facebook, I don't know what the reason is, but put your name in front of it first so I know who it is, because when you guys are doing that, and that's the problem. See, I don't know what's, like I said, I'm in the penalty box anyway in with Facebook. And when I was in a friend of mine's broadcast the other day, you could see it. Confidential. Yes, it is confidential, but you are required to disclose any medical what is it? I don't want to say incapacities, but any medical issues that could impair your ability to do your job. That is a requirement of running for the president of the United States. So, although with HIPAA laws and stuff, you can't find out exactly what's going on, if there and this was something I asked the other day, if we could prove, let's just say for instance that Biden's doctor, well, his wife is a doctor, and we know she's aware of what's going on, but since she has privilege because she's his wife and doesn't have to say anything, his doctor is legally required to make sure that information that he discloses that information. You're not allowed to run for president if you have, you have to disclose illnesses that could prevent you from doing your job. Let's see. I'm Matthew. Matthew, welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you being here. And if you guys are not following me yet, make sure to follow and hit the share button. Do a girl a solid and hit the share button. We always treat everybody with dignity and respect here, and we're hoping that you guys will participate in the conversation. I can see there's quite a few of you here, although a lot less people than we had here yesterday. So I'm hoping you guys can help me because, again, I'm always in the schnitzel box with Facebook, and Twitter has turned into a bit of a cesspool of meanness over there. So I'm counting on my haps peeps here to share out the good word. All right. I'd love to know what you guys want to talk about and what you thought about that press conference today. Like I said, I found him to be a rambling man that was, like I said, if you watch that, it had to be at least 6 minutes rambling on about one answer. And I'm not even sure he ever actually finished it. I think I got so confused at where he had gone with China and what he used to do when he was doing this and that and the other thing. I don't even remember if he ever answered it. HIPAA laws have been broken this last year. Like you didn't used to be able to temperature take all your clients. You know what, Lori? That is true. I don't know how that necessarily is reflective of the behind the scenes stuff like for the president. I just know that it is a requirement that you disclose anything that could prevent you from executing your duties to the fullest extent. So something that if you have a bone spur in your foot, I don't think that would do it because you could be in a wheelchair and you're still you're not mentally incapacitated. If you are, if you need an organ transplant, that would, because that would mean that you'd have to be taken out, at some point you'd have to be put under to go through that, and it would prevent you. It doesn't mean you couldn't still accept the position or that people couldn't still vote for you, but you're required to let them know of anything that would prevent you from executing those duties. Okay, so I'm going to talk while we're doing this. I want to talk about the border crisis a little bit. We talked about some of it last night. But when I heard Lindsey Graham today, I used to love Lindsey Graham, and then I saw him flip-flopping a lot, with the whole Trump thing, and I happen to be a loyalist. If someone does something wrong, like, if Trump had been a complete buffoon and done something, really wrong, call it out like it is, see if he's redeeming himself, he's admitting it. Like I would admit he's not good at admitting when he's wrong, but I think that's because people run over you with the bus when you admit you're wrong. Or even when but you got to at least, change directions at least and get yourself nudged back on course. But when we are dealing with this, and Lindsey Graham, like I said, I liked him, then he kind of flip-flopped on Trump. Well, today he seemed to at least be back in line with the Republican Party and supporting his party because he called Joe out on some of the stuff. Now, put a 7 in the chat box if you guys saw the Sarah Carter got her hands on a video that was a whistleblower provided about what's going on the border in Texas, in a place called Donna, Texas. There is a section of the facility called 3A, and it is designed to hold 80 people, as in 80 children, right? 80 people. I believe it's all children. That could be a family, but I believe, if I remember correctly, it was about 80 children. So the unaccompanied minors that were there. Well, did you guys hear how many are in that section? Because it really should overwhelm you. Steve Walker, welcome to the broadcast. See, now Steve's is coming in with his name. Steve, are you on my page or my profile? Because yours actually has your name and you're on Facebook. The other ones are saying Facebook user. Anyway, Lindsey Graham told us that there are that it's over 1,556% over capacity, right? This place that's supposed to hold 80 has 690 people in it. Just process that for a minute. A room that is supposed to have 80 people has 690 people. Now, I'm sure the 80 is with social distancing, right? So we've got 6 feet apart. So that means that it's not like they're all, I don't think all 690 are literally on top of each other like sardines. Although when they're trying to sleep on the floor, they look like little burritos with those silver blankets over them, but 690 people. And instead of admitting that there is a crisis at the border, he's continuing on with this ridiculousness that it's Trump's fault. He does not accept any responsibility. Biden didn't, and if you heard his presser today, he did not take any responsibility. He blamed it all on Trump. And Lindsey Graham came down and said, "You know what? They have to admit that this is a self-inflicted wound and stop, or otherwise they're just continuing to divide the country and divide the party." And Captain Unity, of course, says that's his whole goal. Well, he hasn't done anything that was unifying anyone so far. Go ahead and put your things. Hey, Maggie, welcome to the broadcast. Appreciate you being here. Steve Walker, haven't seen you for a while. Glad you're here. I'm not loyal to any politicians. I've grown to think of them as a used car salesman. Lori, I hear that. I really do. I believe that President Trump was really focused on our best interests. Now, I also thought, and I wasn't very politically in tune when George W. Bush was president, but I thought he had our best interests at heart. As I look back on things now, and I'm reading more stuff and looking at what he, I don't want to say voted on, but what he was pushing through, I have reconsidered that perspective. Like I said, I was not as in tune with the political arena back then. And Barack Obama, I did not feel like he was a good president at all. I think he's one of the worst presidents we ever had. Joe Biden definitely takes the cake, in my personal opinion. He hasn't been there long enough, and he has caused more damage than I've ever seen in an entire presidency, let alone in this short term. Jimmy Carter was who I thought was the worst president in the past, in my lifetime, until Barack Obama, and then now, of course, Joe Biden. Which Joe Biden even admitted that he is consulting with Barack Obama. So, and Obama had said this is like his third, he's hoping for like a third term, and this is it. He gets to pull some puppet strings. I'm sure somebody's pulling his strings too, because this is some nutty nut stuff going on. Let's see. You're on my page. Okay, thank you, Steve. So maybe, Lori, if you like my page instead of my profile, then maybe your name will come up. Kids getting COVID in these camps. There, over 50% of the kids that came into the camps have COVID. So over 50%. So we want to talk about super spreaders, right? And we're supposed to wear a mask. We're supposed to social distance. We're not allowed to go into restaurants, or we're barely just here in California being able to go into restaurants, still only at 25%. But they are busing in people into other parts of the country and the state that have COVID. That, I mean, I don't even know how to put that together. Like, I would say you were a liar if he didn't admit it himself. So, because it's so not supportive of the country. It's not supportive of the goals. And all I can say is that pretty soon, Newsom has a noose around his own neck because he was trying to hang all of us, right? And now he's on the recall chopping block, and he has replaced pretty much his entire cabinet. And did you guys see that what came out today, that it was exposed that he's having an affair with one of the people on his staff? I just wondering, what is it with governors and their inappropriate behavior? Is it just a power trip, or what the heck is going on with them? And I would think, we got to think clearly here. And Newsom has been doing things that are not supportive of our country, not supportive of our state. And then here we have the open border policy, because he's a sanctuary state anyway, and just letting COVID positive people. And he was flying. If you guys don't know this, Newsom was flying people, and this is way before the election. It was last year in like September. He was flying people over from Mexico into Riverside County to the hospital, and the staff there was upset because these are all COVID positive people. And why you're trying to tell us we can't open our counties because there's too much COVID, but you're flying COVID positive people in. So when you start looking at those details, you say, what in the ever loving world is going on? You're telling us we can't open our businesses because there's too much COVID, but then you're allowing people that you don't even test for to be COVID, or have COVID, and you're just bussing them in to spread COVID around. So what are you going to do? Jack up the level again and you just shut our businesses down? Because I got to tell you, I don't think anybody's going to shut them down again. I think they're going to tell them to take a flying leap, and hopefully we replace them here shortly. Hey, Kathy, welcome to the broadcast. Maggie says, I've always voted for the lesser evil, which I hated to do. But hey, I hear that. That is how I felt during the first election with Hillary and Trump, the lesser of two evils. As a matter of fact, I continue to use the hashtag embarrassed American because the two of them were like children going at each other. It was pathetic and it was immature, and I was so embarrassed. And I, as a consultant that has clients in 7 different countries and speaking at in a lot of those countries, I was embarrassed, because the world is watching us, and they're certainly watching us now, and they are laughing. They are mocking us, but they really are not getting all the information either. They don't realize what's really going on here and how the media has played their hand. Again, if you instead of using the big G for your search, use DuckDuckGo, check out Brave, and you'll start opening up a whole world of possibilities. You'll find out all kinds of stuff. Bush implied, I pray for there I'm right. Well, I believed Bush was a Christian and that he had our best interest at heart. Again, I was not as in tune with the political scene as I am now. I probably would have felt differently. I'm not sure. Like, hindsight, of course, is always 2020, so I can't say what I would have thought then. But I do feel like I partially got duped there. But still, between him and the alternative, yeah. Anyway, Mr. I created the internet. Let's just let's just drop that Al Gore issue right there, because I think he's kind of a doofus. I don't mean that he doesn't have isn't a member of Mensa or whatever he is, but you can be really intellectually smart and be common sense stupid and or inarticulate or have an inability to communicate with common people, and I just that's how I felt about him. This is citizens, the abuse, they are abusing us. What is Maggie? This is citizens, the abuse, they are abusing us. I don't know what that means, Mags. Help me understand. Facebook user Lori. Okay, the longer they can keep the virus going, the longer they get to use emergency powers. And you know what? That is absolutely true. Now, whether I'm not going to say everyone is trying to do that, because I don't know what's in their minds. I do know that Newsom is doing it. As a matter of fact, Representative Kevin Kiley, he's the only representative that is fully funded by the taxpayers, people supporting him, right? They continue to send donations. He does not take outside interest money. And so Kevin Kiley has been exposing Newsom and taking him to court. And the court has ruled more than once that he has overreached his powers. And then Newsom says, well, you're going to mess up all the orders we have if you take that power away. But the Supreme Court has identified that he is abusing his powers. And again, I am going to I still want to know what happened to my $1 billion, the $1 billion of tax money that was supposed to go to these masks, which we still haven't seen, or we saw part of them that were defective. And then blah blah blah. That's a lot of money, it's a lot of interest. That's a lot of kickback going on there. All right, so now, like I said, Biden had his first presser and did better than most of the time when he's speaking publicly, but still he's not there. And if you saw him at the end, okay, gotta go now, and he just turned and walked off. I mean, it was like a bell was ringing in the other room and he was toddling off. It was, like I said, the man is not in control of himself. It's embarrassing. And of course, the fact that he and Kamala have not been down to the border, because what they're trying to do, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. The fact is, what they're doing and what's happening there is absolutely outrageous, and they got to get it under control. They got to fix it, and they're not fixing it, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. You cannot allow your borders to go unchecked like that. I mean, like I said, look at Camp Pelosi, or whatever, the Pelosi prison. The way she's put that barbed wire with the razor wire. I mean, it's the walls with the razor wire at the top, like everybody's trying to get in there. I mean, give me a break. I understand what happened at the Capitol building was terrible, but a lot of it too, there was some bad parts, and then a lot of it they tried to pretend that people were going cray cray, that everybody's going cray cray, but there's videos of them strolling in and the guards letting them in and taking pictures. So, there everything has two sides, and we have got to be aware that we are, we're definitely being duped in some ways for sure. I mean, there's been some duping going on. Maybe not every way, but there's definitely some duping going on. And nobody's buying what's happening 100% now. They're just not buying it anymore. I mean, there are pieces and parts that make sense, but when people start double speaking, I mean, let's use flip-flop and Fauci for a minute, okay? Mister, don't wear a mask. Wear two masks. You might want to wear three. And did you guys see the woman from Canada? She was an Asian woman from Canada that when COVID came out, that she said you needed to wear masks during sex. True story. Like, are you kidding me? If you are heavy breathing all over each other, first of all, somebody's going to pass out wearing a mask. And second of all, are you freaking kidding me? I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. If you guys are wearing masks while you're having sex, seriously, you got issues. That's just, I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say. All right. Anybody have any questions here? Because I don't want to belabor the issue. I think that, again, he's not all there. Congratulations. It's kind of like I want to pat my grandpa on the back. Good job, grandpa. Way to go. And this is not about the age. It's about, it's about the capacity. As a matter of fact, though, my father-in-law is almost 99. He'll be 99 in October. And he's still together way better than Biden is. That's a true story. He can still kick my butt in Scrabble. I mean, like, I'm not talking about beat me. I'm talking about kick my butt. My father-in-law is an excellent Scrabble player. He's got his mental acuity is there. Biden doesn't, and it's not because of just age. I mean, the man has had multiple surgeries for aneurysms. That's when you have surgery on your brain, and you've had more than one. You had more than one aneurysm. Good chance that you're having some mini strokes in there. Like I said, read the report. If you want it, send me a message, and I will send you. I'll take a picture of the article that was written. It was here in our local paper, but they had taken the this. It was written by someone, I think, on the East Coast, a neurosurgeon, that said the behavior that you're seeing from him is typical, but you need to address it. Let's see. Oh, whoops, comments going there. Nutty Newsom needs to lay off the Aquanet. It has clearly clogged and killed off brain cells. Biden today was so off, right, Kathy? I mean, well, like I said, when I was watching it, and then the path that he took with that question about China. I mean, talk about somebody who's tight with China, that he cannot condemn anything that's going on, but me and him, and it's like he gets lost in his stories. Have you guys ever been around somebody that every time you're with them, they have to go into story mode? That's Joe Biden. He goes into story mode. I don't even think it's to divert from the conversation. I think he can't help himself. He's like, he's got to go back to the golden days. Oh, I remember when, me and your grandma, we used to, go out by the fireplace. The man, he needs help. He needs help. He should not be our president. And the fact that he is, like I said, isn't it that it says something, because there is no way that many people voted for him. It's like I said, it's a statistical impossibility that it is. I mean, people don't even really like him. As a matter of fact, the media has identified and said what it is that Joe is non-threatening. And I guess when you think of that word, if for the average American, that not somebody that's not looking at his policies and how he's trying to rip our country apart, when you look at him as a person, they're right. He doesn't seem threatening, right? And that's why they try and keep Kamala in the background, because she's like a barracuda, right? She'll just rip people to shreds. I mean, and like I said, and she lies. And then when she lies and she gets caught, she has that cackle, right? And there's a difference between laughing and a nervous laughter and a cackle. If you guys, I don't know if you guys saw it, but when she was called out, because you guys remember, right, that she said when the debates were going on, she accused Biden of being a racist and basically a rapist, right? Because let's face it, they were all for believing women until Tara came out and said that Joe was inappropriate with her. And then all of a sudden, where did she go, by the way? I mean, we've got now eight victims of Cuomo's. Now we know that Newsom was having an affair previously with one of his staff members. Now he's having another affair with another staff member. And so, we have all these inappropriate behaviors going on. And I say inappropriate because it is inappropriate for a married man to be having an affair, whether you believe that or not. It is, because that's, you took a vow. And a man in a position of power, it may be consensual and whatever, but it's still inappropriate. I mean, I think your wife would agree that that's inappropriate. And so we look at all these people doing inappropriate things, and yet, like I said, we silence the one that tells us that a presidential candidate, that he was really inappropriate. I mean, it was molestation for sure. It's sexual harassment. It was, I mean, there was gropage there from her description of it, right? And so when we start looking at all these things and what's happening, it's how are we supposed to say this stuff is okay? We've Anyway, I know. Now I feel like Biden. I just went off on a little tangent myself. Let me see what's over here. Let's see. I quit all of this nonsense. No more adulting for me. Hey, Kathy, you know what? I think Biden did that about, I don't know, maybe at least 3 years ago. Biden handles little girls on camera. You know what? I don't know about you guys, but if you read my book, Evictable in Your Head, there's a section in there and I talk about Uncle Ichabod. And to try and give children a name, like, because we don't necessarily know how to describe when we're kids. We know we're uncomfortable with someone, but we don't know what sex is yet, because we haven't been pressed into the things here in schools where they want to teach you that, to think you're of a different gender when you're 5 years old or something. I mean, that lunacy needs to be dealt with as well. But you just know you're uncomfortable, right? And for me, it was my step grandfather. He gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like, like, even as I think about it now, it's the way he looked at me, the way he would do that. When I see Joe Biden getting his head close to those kids' hair, it reminds me of the motions they do are the same ones I did when my grandfather would try and embrace me. And it was just, I knew it was wrong. He was wrong. And of course, I didn't at the time know what was happening, but we found out later that my grandfather was trying to get my sister to, pose nude for him and different stuff, and to sculpt her and stuff like that. So I was only probably 5 or 6 at the time, and she was 8. But, as you see that, when I see those girls, the same cringy feeling that I got from my grandfather, which I didn't know how to describe as a child, my mom would say, "Go sit on your grandpa's lap." And I would be like, "No, no, no." And it wasn't from being disrespectful, it was from being uncomfortable. And so in my book, Evictable in Your Head, I give parents and children a name and say, "He's like Uncle Ichabod." Like, you don't have to, you don't know that it's a sexual feeling. You don't know what it is, but kids understand icky, they understand uncomfortable, and so Uncle Ichabod is a perfect way to describe how they're feeling. He reminds me of Uncle Ichabod, and then the parents should immediately remove their child from the situation. It may be false, they may be incorrect, but it doesn't matter. You should always protect the child without accosting a person when you don't have any evidence, but you need to protect your child, right? And you need to protect people. When you see those kids cringing, those kids are cringing for a reason, and there's not one kid that's cringing. There's lots of kids that are cringing. And when he tells the stories about the hair on his legs and people and the kids, and I love kids more than I love people. Like, what does that even mean anyway? That just sounds creepy McCreepy. So, and again, that doesn't mean it is. It means it sounds that way. And when there's enough other evidence, we have to start looking and saying something's not right. Something makes us uncomfortable. And again, sometimes, mentally disabled people sometimes seem creepy because they can't articulate themselves, right? So we don't know what the reason is, and we're not pinpointing it and saying it's this, but what we are saying is that we need to be aware. There's something different, and there's something not right, and we need to remove the possibility of those situations. And so he seems creepy, right? He seems creepy. Hi, whoever that is that said hi, Facebook user. It doesn't say your name. Put your name in there so we know who you are. He's creepy as heck. I agree. He is creepy. he is creepy. And maybe there's no reason. Maybe he just reminds me of my step grandpa. I don't know. Like it's like I don't look at him and think of Chet, but you know, it is what it is. But we have to start paying attention and we have to start recognizing again, he doesn't take responsibility for anything. And you guys can say that Trump didn't either. I do understand I understand. It doesn't mean I think is right. I do understand why politicians are very hesitant to admit that they are wrong. But Trump did let everybody down at the border. Remember all the kids in cages, they were screaming at him. The video that leaked yesterday by Sarah Carter, go look it out. I shared it out on, I think it was on Hannity that he exposed that stuff. Look at that. That's abysmal. And the fact that Harris and Biden have not been down there and then say, "Oh, well, I'm going to put Kamala in charge of it." He didn't want to go down there because he doesn't know how to, get backed out of the corner he's in. It's absolutely outrageous. Melissa Company, welcome, sweetheart. It's so good to see you. And yes, we're talking politics today, and step up, stand out, and speak. And you may or may not like, you may or may not like that, but I appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't followed, if you're not over here on the Haps app yet, come over here to haps.tv, HAPPS.tv/invite/Vicky Fitch. Join up here. That way you can see all the comments from everybody on all the platforms. We are live streaming on 9 platforms right now, and it's a really exciting time for us to learn how to articulate ourselves better, for us to step up, stand out, and speak, for us to identify what things that we're passionate about and recognize how we can deliver the message without being rude or disrespectful or shoving our opinions down other people's throats. Does anybody have any questions? Like, we have about 3 more minutes. I'd be happy to answer questions for you. Remember, I am on every night, typically at 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm in the schnitzel box with Facebook, so you're probably not getting my notifications. Periscope is leaving us here in 5 more days. So all of you on Periscope, if you haven't gotten on my newsletter list or you haven't come over here to HAPS, we're going to be losing contact unless you go reconnect with me. And I hope that you will, because I want you guys to stay connected. I want to continue these conversations because that's the way we can connect and communicate and learn a little bit more about the other side of what people are thinking. So I do appreciate you guys. Again, tomorrow I will, if I'm on, it won't be an official kind of broadcast everywhere because I will be in Las Vegas and I might do like a little girl on the streets thing or something like that, or try and, sneak some video of something going on. I don't know, something crazy going on. But if you guys like the broadcast, please follow me at VickyFitch.com, VICKIFITCH.com. Also, come over here on the HAPS app with me. You can get some free credits. You can actually give money to broadcasters. You can receive money from just from doing things like setting up a profile and those kind of things. So you can have a little fun and really support the people that you think are doing a great job. So hopefully you guys will come over and visit there. Hopefully you'll get on my newsletter list, and I'm going to put those links. I don't think everybody gets to see them. VickyFitch.com. You can get on my newsletter list there, and then haps.tv/invite/at Vicky Fitch. Right there will bring you over to the HAPS app. You can actually, if you start live streaming, I don't know if it's still good, but you can try. If you live stream once a week for 4 weeks, you'll get $25 from HAPS if you're actually working your audience. And then the person that referred you will get that as well. If you're actually, like I said, broadcasting, and why not give it a try? You might find that you have a talent for sharing what's going on inside. Maybe you have a talent for painting. It doesn't matter what you share. It's your show, your broadcast. Step up, stand out, and speak. Let people know who you are, and let's stay connected. So I appreciate you guys. I look forward to talking to you on Monday if I do not talk to you tomorrow. And if you guys have content that you want me to go over, feel free to send it to me. Messenger is the best way to get it to me. Then again, like I said, I'm always in the schnitzel box. For 3 months, I wasn't able to live stream. So you can send it to me via email or, through any of the other social platforms. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you being here. I think you guys are fabulous. I love being here to deliver content for you. And until next time, I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it,